Introducing the course. Hello and welcome to our course on Introduction to Freelancing. So, the best way I think to begin this course is to answer a very simple question, and that's what is freelancing? And the simple answer is this. It's doing a job under contract rather than being an employee of a single company. So, what is a contract? It specifies the length of your work, it specifies who you're working for, what your responsibilities or your work scope would be, and then what you'll be paid for it. So at the end of the contract, you can extend it, you could alter it, or you could just go on your own way. Now, being an employee is a lot different because you're connected to that company almost indefinitely. And there's usually a lot less formality with what your work responsibility is, what your compensation is, all the different details of that job. And those can change without actually adjusting the contract. So the simple answer is a contract really specifies what your work is, and it's not indefinite, whereas a full-time employee or just a part-time employee, whatever it may be, is attached to a single company. So obviously that makes freelancing very broad. We said that there's 4 main components that really define freelancing, and it'll vary for each. So first is duration. So some freelance contracts are very short. You could maybe do just a few hours of work. Others maybe go month to month, and then there's others that actually last almost as long as a real job. They could go year to year. The work type is very broad as well. Some are very low-skill jobs. Some are projects, and then they require kind of a team-based job. And then others require very substantial expertise and official certification. Third, you have pay. So some are very small hourly wage type jobs. Sometimes they'll pay you a fixed price for a full project, and then other times they'll mimic a full-time salary, so you wouldn't really see a whole lot of difference. And then the source of work, again, very, very broad. Some are done over freelance broker type websites, which we'll go into a lot of detail about where you can find those. Some are sourced direct, so a hirer to a freelancer will talk directly, they'll put a contract together, and then they'll figure out where the work scope goes from there. And then finally, some are very corporate, and they're almost indistinguishable from how they hire the full-time workers. So they'll go through HR and go through the normal recruitment process in order to find a freelancer. So you can see the answer to that question, that first question, what is freelancing? It can be so many different things, but the main theme is it's generally a contract type of work where you're changing what you do in a lot greater frequency. So the second part to that question, what is freelancing, is to start giving some examples of what could be actually considered freelancing. Now, a lot of people, when they hear about freelancing at first, they might think of contractors, and then they might erroneously assume that it's a lower status than, let's say, a regular employment. But the answer is, it's really not. So think about it. A lawyer, they could be considered a freelancer because they work for clients, they do it on an hourly basis, and they do it for specific cases over a contract. A doctor could be considered a freelancer. You hire them for a fixed fee, and then depending on the procedure, that's what will articulate what their scope of work would be. Builders, when they build your home or they build an addition to that home, they could be considered freelancers because they're chosen, you sign a contract for their services, and then you go your separate ways once that contract concludes. Freelancers, they can do any job. It can be any industry, any function, any type of work. The main theme, though, is they change clients with frequency rather than having a fixed job with a fixed wage and it really being consistent over a long period of time. Now, the next question is, how big is freelancing? And the short answer is, it's quite big now, but more importantly, it's growing substantially. So the statistic we'll show is in a 2015 joint study called Freelancing in America 2015, done by the Freelancers Union and Upwork.com, 54 million Americans, 54 million, and that represents 34% of workers have done freelance work in the past year. That's a huge portion of the population and of the workforce that are already doing freelancing. The majority of these people, actually 60% in that study, are actually doing it by choice. And the reason that they're saying they're doing it is because technology is making it a lot easier. Some are getting a lot more money from a freelance contract. And work flexibility is a really important thing to them. So those are kind of the reasons that people are choosing to go into freelancing. And that's just the United States. We know that a lot of the people taking this course are from all over the world. And the majority of applicants for some of the jobs that I've even posted as freelancers have come from outside the US. So you can see the list of places that I've hired from all the different continents, from all over the world. And that's just the jobs I've done to date. I expect to hire all over the place. And I really find it great because you can find talent wherever you want, at any hour you want. You can find the best workers, and you really get a really good choice in terms of who you're actually choosing from to do your work. So that's what freelancing is. Now, in the rest of this course, we're going to talk about a lot of different subjects that kind of fall under this broad term called freelancing. So what are you going to gain from this course? The first thing is really developing an understanding and an appreciation of just how big freelancing has become, and simultaneously how sizable the opportunity could be if you were to get into it. The second thing is learning how and where you can actually get started in freelancing. So we don't want this just to be informative. We want this to be a call for action so that you can actually get into it yourself, sample it, and determine if it's for you. The third is actually observing what a freelance gig looks like and all the different considerations you should have as you get started and as you begin your foray into the world of freelancing. The fourth is a consideration of freelancing and all the different aspects of it. So things like lifestyle, all the different professional conditions and considerations you might need to have, and then the financial aspect of it as well, because of course that's why we work. The fifth thing is predicting how freelancing and work in general is going to evolve in the future. We said that freelancing is just at the cusp of its potential, and we think it's going to become even bigger than the 34% that do it today. So we want to talk about how work is going to evolve, how that number is going to grow beyond 34%, and all the different aspects and implications that's going to have. Finally, we want to talk about the more advanced resources. This is an introductory course. We want to talk about if you were to get into freelancing, how you can really maximize that opportunity for yourself, and all the different resources that are available to really help you along your way. So we're going to go beyond the introduction. We teach a couple of other courses that get into more depth in terms of how you find those opportunities and how you enhance your standing as a freelancer. We'll talk all about that and how you can find them. So before we conclude this introductory video, I want to introduce myself. My name is Dan Perry. I'm 31 years old, and I think that that's a really cool age because it's right in that sweet spot of having a lot of really good experience, but also being young enough to see how things are changing in the world. From technology to business, education, and career, things are really rapidly changing, and I've seen that throughout my education and my career to date. My background is that I spent my career in banking and financial services, and I did that as a management consultant. Now, the cool thing about management consulting is it's really a fancy word for a professional freelancer. So I worked with some of the world's biggest companies across the world, and I did so on that kind of contract basis. So I have a lot of insight when it comes to what is freelancing, who's hiring, what are the different resources out there, how do you find the gigs, how do you sell it? So I think that that's going to be very helpful in terms of perspective. Now, in my corporate career, I enjoyed really helping people market their qualifications and then help the company with its proposals for all these multi-million-dollar projects. That's exactly the sort of perspective that I want to bring to this course and your foray into the freelancing world. Now, recently I started my own business. We help people learn better than what they're getting from formal education programs and then ultimately apply that learning toward an outcome, which in our case is a better career. This is my third Udemy course, but we also have a website called Reverse Tide. You can see that logo in the upper right-hand corner. And that website really helps people from a variety of different ways. We help people really improve their education options, improve their qualifications, get better jobs, and then we also go into a lot more depth in terms of freelancing and all the different resources that are out there for people that are interested in that pathway. So for the rest of this course, we're going to start off with the introduction as we're doing right now. Then we're going to go into freelancing, the future of work, and really get into a lot more detail about what freelancing is. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to help you get started in freelancing. So what do you do? Where do you look? And then finally, we're going to give you some perspective. Now, this is a little bit shorter course, and the nice thing about it is this course is free. It's an introduction, and we really want to make sure that you actually have the right perspective before you go into a little bit more detail. So that's why we made this course free, that it's an introductory course, and we want you to learn and really get excited about this topic without really having the burden of paying for it. The second thing is we're ecstatic about freelancing. We're really excited, and we want to expose as many people as possible to the subject because we really do believe it's the future of work, and it offers something really exciting to anyone who could get involved within it. Finally, as we mentioned before, Reverse Tide has a lot of advanced premium freelancing material. We have 2 advanced level freelancing courses, and you can see those links within Udemy. We have education curriculums on our site that really help people become more qualified, improve their resumes, and improve whatever sort of job pathway they want to go down. And then Reverse Tide also has a page that is dedicated to freelance resources. So all the different resources, perspectives, technology, and other helping things that can really help people who decide to go into freelancing. So that's what this course is, and we really hope that you get a good introductory level knowledge of what freelancing is, what potential it has, and all the different resources that can help you in a more advanced way. So let's get into the content. We're really excited to get started.